Themis, hi. You're US based and now visiting Goa. And this is a book you're going to write on Arossim. Can you tell us about it?
Well, it all started after I retired from my active career and came to Goa and discovered that there were some documents by my father and uncles that chronicled the events in Goa and detailed description of some of the people of Arossim,
I see.
the land of Comunidade, and some other details about the village. So this actually formed the basis, the core of the information for my book.
It looks like a very small and nondescript village, but when you dig deeper, it's surprising the kind of information you can find out spanning centuries.
That's always the case. Superficially, you don't see much. But once you start looking closer, you start talking to the people, you get into the houses, look around the walls, and then you discover that there were some men and women in the past who were only known during their times, but forgotten later on, even by their own descendants, who didn't know what they did and what their legacies were. So,
who are the most interesting people you came across?
Well, in this village, there was a judge. There were at least a couple of judges. There was a vice consul for Brazil, interestingly.
Posted where?
He was actually resident over here, but he was appointed by the newly formed government of Brazil at that time, when the monarchy was overthrown. Yes. So, of course, there were lawyers and doctors, and Arossim also happened to have among the doctors and lawyers who were among the first to be graduated from Goa.
Goa Medical College,
yes, was, and this is actually documented in the books. I forget the name of the author, but it says the first lawyers and doctors of Goa.
Apart from that, it's also a thriving community today in terms of its social life and.
Well, in a way, there's a lot of inflow of money from non-resident Goans who work abroad and have now become more affluent. You will notice if you drive around, lots of construction going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, otherwise, there are not very many institutions. The chapel, of course, is the center of activity.
Religion is, strong kind of.
Just like the temples were the centers of activity in the past. So, I wrote about the history of the chapel. I found out the date when it was founded, approximately.
Yeah.
And it's a 16th century institution. So is our church of St. Thomas. Then talking to the villagers, elders and farmers, I discovered many more things. One of the interesting things that I discovered was the existence of slavery.
I see.
Yeah, which I did not believe in the beginning.
I see.
Until I found documentation in the church registries. So that really took it off. And
I see.
Yeah.
Talking about documentation, even some of the parchments that you have from the 50s, 60s are pretty interesting, no?
Yes.
The ration cards and the school announcements and.
Yeah. One would consider as a triviality, but in time they attain some
value.
Yes, that's why just to give some idea as to how things were in the past, because the modern generation would not even conceive or think about that such things existed in the past.
And this aspect of slavery, which era does it date back to? Which years?
That would go back to 19th century, mid-19th century.
So late.
It could have been earlier also, but from the books, it indicates that they were here even after slavery was abolished. People still had slaves.
And there would be some traces or intermingling in the community?
Well, yes. There is at least one family who lived in this village during my time.
I see.
And I write about it in the book. Yeah, and I've been talking recently about to others, and his son or grandson is still lives in the area and works for the railways.
I see.
But apparently there are even more people living by the hillside in Kuili.
I see.
Yeah, I was told once by the vicar, because he was surprised to find out this particular group of people in Kuili, and he didn't know how they happened to be there.
I see.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if they are just the remnants of those who stayed here. But many fled
I see.
from Arossim over the hills to Yellapur.
Really? I see.
Yellapur, yes.
Yellapur is this Siddhi settlement.
Yes. Yellapur actually, I noticed, was just a slice of Africa in Goa, or not in Goa, but
Yeah.
in India. Yeah.
In fact, one of our local researchers, Charles Kamara from Mormugao, was studying it for a long time. The Siddhi is what the tribe knows.
Yes, they, from my the documents that I read,
Yeah.
they did not have last names. They only had just one name. Every person, every African,
Very Portuguese names like Joaquim.
they are all Portuguese
They
names.
spelled in an English pidgin form.
They are all Portuguese names.
Yeah.
And those who live now in Yellapur, they speak Konkani.
Yeah.
They speak, and they know that that ancestors came from Goa. And because they did not have a last name, I think all of the cities, whether they were Christians, Hindus, or Muslims,
Yeah.
assumed the same last name as
Which
city.
is Siddhi.
Yeah.
It's a tribe name or
Yes,
kind of.
it could be, yes. Or the tribal name, or for the more recent Africans who came to India.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Africans had been coming to India for many
Some people, I'm not
centuries.
sure, they trace it to Hashbi or Abyssinia or something.
Yes. Yeah, actually, there were many Abyssinians among this slavery.
You are a man of the sciences. How do you have such a deep interest in history?
Well, as I told you, any information leads to more information. And if you know how to do it, and because of my background in science,
I see.
I know how to look for information.
I see.
Yeah,
So it actually helps you.
It helps me how to go about looking for information, where to go to look for information. And today I've used technology quite a bit.
I see.
I've used internet to quite an extent.
You used to be with Union Carbide that's...
Yes, I actually worked as a research scientist.
I see.
Yeah.
From what you told me today, your dad and uncle and all were deep into this kind of local writing.
Yes.
Which is strange in those days, no? It's quite a...
Yeah, in those days, I don't know. They really had interest in creative arts My father was not a creative person, but he kept good records. He was a kind of a chronicler. He chronicled a lot of information. He kept good records about the chapel, because he worked for the chapel committee.
I see. So you actually published these two books posthumously.
Posthumously.
Dealing with
The first one deals with the Gankars of Arossim, and these are just males, descendants of the original clans.
Yeah.
And my uncles, they composed poems. One uncle composed poem, the other wrote a lot of plays. The plays were in Konkani, but the poems were mostly in Portuguese.
I see.
Yeah.
That was a language of ideas
At that
in those
time,
days.
yes.
Yeah.
Even though they were not highly educated, but they had good education in Portuguese.
I see.
Yeah.
So what next? What's your future plans?
Well, right now I don't have
But it's very interesting.
a clear kind of a vision of what I'm going to do next, but I may go deeper into some of the things that I've been writing.
I really feel like it's very interesting stuff you're doing, and it's going to be very useful in the time to come. It would also open up doors for others to...
Well, yes.
Understand.
Primarily I wanted to document this information because I felt that the modern generation are not equipped with the tools like Portuguese language and the know-how, how to go.
Even an understanding of the past, no? I mean, it's like...
Yes, not many people, are interested in the past.
That's true. They don't even have a clue about it, so...
Yes, but I think once they know,
Yeah.
once they see
The eyes would be opened.
The eyes will be opened. And I'm quite optimistic that the future generations will be more educated and more interested than the present generation, which is understandable.
Yeah. It's always tough because the Goan reality is very different from the rest of British India, and there's no paradigm to easily fit it into. So
that's very true. Yes.
Anyway, thanks so much
You're welcome.
for your time.